Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal for this week's episode of Inside Arsenal Extra Time, where, as always, I'm joined by James Benge of CBS Sport. James, good to have you back, mate. How's it all going? All good?
Yeah, very good, thanks. I've just realised I was half an hour late to this.
I know. You kept me waiting for half an hour. There was not even an apology when you finally came on.
I
You just
didn't realise.
started talking about decorating, and that was it.
I'm sorry, man. I had no idea. I'll tell the truth as well. I just got distracted playing Ghost of Yote. I didn't have anything else on.
Playing what?
Ghost of Yote. The kids
What
in
is
the
it?
comments will know. It's the big new PS5 game.
Ah.
It's very good.
You know what I was doing while I was waiting for you to finally arrive?
Yeah, I didn't even get a chaser text as well.
I know. I was quite happily sitting here watching clips of Deadliest Catch on Facebook.
What is that? Is that when I don't know what?
Catch, the crab fisherman on the Bering Sea, the Discovery Channel documentary that's been going for about 25 years now. Like so
The crabs are deadly, or it's
Anderson, all of that.
are the crabs deadly, or the sort of conditions?
I would say it's more the sea that is deadly than the crabs.
Well, depends how much you wind up those crabs, I guess.
Well, they're big crabs, mate. They're big crabs. This wasn't the start of the show I was expecting.
This is what the people want, isn't it? It's international break.
It is international break. This is very much international break content as well.
Yeah.
What was the name of that game again? You were playing?
Ghost of Yote.
It's
it's a sort of sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. Takes place in Tokugawa era Japan in the North Island, currently known as Hokkaido, then known as Ezo. It's brilliant.
See, as my kids get older, I imagine this is the sort of game that I will get to know more about. At the moment, all I know about is Roblox and Steal a Brain Rot. You heard of Steal a Brain Rot?
No, is this like that 6-7 meme?
It is that 6-7 thing. 6-7. Honestly, mate, it's all I hear. It is mental. I go and pick them up at the playground. They're all just sitting there talking about it. As soon as I get home, it's on the iPads, on YouTube. It's just mad. And honestly, it just sounds like complete and it makes no sense what they're saying, and yet they all understand it. It's when you just feel old. Yeah, I always thought I was quite down with the kids. I thought I knew what was going on, but this stuff's like way over my head. I'm looking forward to the teenage years when they actually start getting into decent.
Yeah, it was Jack Wilshere getting a manager's job for me.
I know. I said that on my shows. I was like, there's some things that just make you feel old, and Jack Wilshere being appointed a senior manager, that is one of those points.
Get out.
I know. We'll talk about Jack a little bit later on, actually. I think that'll be interesting. Me and you have obviously covered him very, very closely over the years. Spent many a time sitting down talking with him. So, yeah, I was delighted for him to get a job. It's been a fairly good international break for Arsenal. It's finished pretty well the last couple of days. Arsenal players doing well on their travels. So we'll talk about that. We'll look ahead to the game against Fulham as well. Obviously, Martin Odegaard's injury has become a little bit clearer during the international break. We've got some questions. We're going to do our ratings. We're going to rate Arsenal's summer signings. I've been saving this for you, mate, because someone suggested I do this on one of my shows during the international break, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to save that for an extra time episode, because it'll probably be a little bit better if we compare our ratings. So we'll do that as well. We've got questions. So yeah. Well, what have you, before we get into that? What you've been doing apart from playing that random game that I've already forgotten the name of? What else have you been doing during the international break to keep yourself busy?
Really not a lot. I think this has been a particularly quiet international break.
It's gone on forever.
It has, and it feels a very long one. I think because the games have. It's a good thing for the players, isn't it, that the games are sort of over by Tuesday and kind of don't even start till Thursday. So it's just a quick rush of games, but it does just mean there's a lot of sitting around waiting time. I've enjoyed what I've seen of England, I have to say.
Yeah, you're a big Thomas Tuchel fan, though, aren't you? So
I'm a huge Thomas Tuchel fan, as everyone knows, and kind of finally got to put to paper my insistence that Elliot Anderson is the next young midfield superstar. I mean, genuinely, people should go and look at his stats. He is probably at the moment the most high volume passer in the Premier League, best ball recoverer in the Premier League right now. I think if I was Manchester City and Liverpool and looking for an elite sort of six, he would be literally at the top of my list right now. That's how good he is. Not Martin Zubimendi good, of course, but not far off.
Who's better, Elliot Anderson or Adam Wharton?
Elliot Anderson. It might not be that close.
Really?
They are more different than we think. At least the sort of stats as well. I mean, partly because Wharton plays with like 3 centre backs behind him, so he can be a little bit more ambitious and a bit more aggressive in his passing. So, like, I would kind of say something happened to Declan Rice at the World Cup. I would rather pair Wharton with Anderson than anything else. I think that could work quite well. But yeah, Anderson, a bit more of a pure 6. And I think him and Rice just tick so many boxes for England.
Yeah. Did you watch it yesterday, the England game?
In and out. I watched, yeah, I sort of watched it as well. I was in the queue to go and see The Last Dinner Party. And sort of caught the highlights afterwards. So saw enough. Saw enough to be impressed with what I saw.
It looked kind of weird, I thought. Did you see it? Because he had the trees on the other side. So there was no stand, it was trees. But around where I live, and back in the day when I was a junior reporter on some of the local papers around here, I used to go to Burnham, which is just by Slough. It's a little place just by Slough. Oh, you know Burnham, you know the area around here. And their ground, which is known as the Gore, this opposite side, so opposite the press box, was just a row of trees like that. And it just gave me real flashbacks of being sat at Burnham. Watching it yesterday, it was weird, but it was decent. I mean, Eze came off, scored, nice goal, good finish.
Very nice.
I mean, given all the time in the world to pick his spot, be nice if he got that sort of space and time in the Premier League. But he did it well, which is nice because I mean, he's going to be busy. You'd imagine over the next few weeks. Odegaard's injury, so he did well. The absolute magic man that is Mikel Merino, another 2 goals for Spain. It's 6 in his last 4 World Cup qualifiers. He scored 8 in 8. For Spain in 2025.
14 goals this year, I want to say, in all comps, club and country. Does that sound
really?
about right?
Is that what it is? It must be about that. It kind of sounds like it should be more than that, actually, because he surely scored more than 6 in that run for Arsenal. If he scored 8 for Spain in 2025, surely he scored more than 6 in that run for Arsenal.
There was 2 against Leicester, weren't there?
When he was playing as striker. Yeah.
But then there were a lot of games where you were like, he's played really well as a striker, but he's not scored. And we would sort of say he's played very well as a striker, and we shouldn't judge him by goal output. And now I'm looking at what he's doing in midfield, going, maybe we should have judged him by goal output.
Maybe. What's he got? 1 for Arsenal this season? He scored the Newcastle goal. That's his only goal this season, isn't it, for Arsenal?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, let me have a look. Here we go. I've got him in front of me. So for Arsenal, since the turn of the year last season, he got 2 at Leicester, 1 at PSV, 1 against Chelsea, 1 against Fulham, 1 against Madrid,
6,
1 against Liverpool. So he scored 7 at the end of last season, 1 this season. So that's 8, and he's got 8. So he's on 16.
16. Woof.
There'll be a fair few assists in that as well. You think he's got both assists in the win at the Bernabeu, didn't he? Yeah, he's definitely got other assists in there as well. So
you do wonder if, like, especially while we wait for Havertz to return, if there might be the odd game where it just sort of makes sense to give Gyökeres a break, even just play him on the bench and just say, Mikel, do you want to eat up some minutes at striker? Because I know he's not a striker for Spain, and he isn't really going to be a striker for Arsenal. But it's clear that, like, if the ball comes to him in the penalty box, he can do good stuff. So I wouldn't be averse to it.
Right, as you just said that, let me just bring it up. I think this is the right one. Yes, Chris says, hi, Charles and Benge. With the goal-scoring form that he's showing for country, as well as how he closed the season out playing for us up front, do you think Merino would have scored more goals than Gyökeres if he was our starting striker in the opening 10 games? I agree that Victor has shown some adaptations, especially in the Newcastle game, but I feel that the improvement took his performance to a level of what we were already getting from Havertz instead of something that would take us above and beyond. I mean, it's really hard to actually, say if he definitely would have scored more. I mean, Gyökeres has only scored in 2 games so far, hasn't he? 2 goals from open play. One of them is a penalty.
Yeah.
I mean, I would. I mean, just judging purely on what he did when he was playing as a striker last season, then I wouldn't be able to say no to that. I mean, I think he probably might well have scored more. I'm not saying that he should have started, by the way. I'm not saying that he should have been starting ahead of Gyökeres, but just judging on past history, which I guess is all we can go on when you look at his scoring record, then I think there's a good chance he might have scored more.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be 3, 4, 5, maybe What I would also say
Gyökeres could easily be that as well, couldn't he? I mean, I do feel like Gyökeres has been slightly unlucky this season.
Yeah,
He could easily be sitting on 4, 5, 6 goals. I think he's not, obviously, but I think he could have been.
Yeah, and what I think you're getting from Gyökeres as well is like a striker that, because he's such a threat in behind, because he's really good with the ball at his feet, carrying it, does offer you these things that just keep the defense a little bit more honest, don't they? Whereas I think what's really good about Mikel Merino is that he can sort of he has that sort of Nketiah-ish quality of like just knowing where the ball's going to be in the box. And maybe Gyökeres could do with some sessions with Merino. Merino just gives him some tips on how that works. But, you know, in open play, when Arsenal are getting up the pitch, you see so often that Gyökeres is like his movement outside the box and his movement in transition just draws more attention. And, you know, the reality is, like, kind of defenders were sagging off Merino a little bit, weren't they, last season? And it probably made it harder for Saka and Martinelli to be their best selves. Whereas I think a lot of the sort of just threat that Gyökeres is posing is making it easier for the other forwards to be effective. So, I mean, I would still be rolling out Gyökeres, but not averse to giving Merino decent minutes up front.
Well, I think he might have to in this run now coming up to the next international break. If Havertz isn't going to be back before the next international break and the amount of games they've got coming up, then I think Merino might well. I'm sure he'll start against who is it? Brighton in the cup.
Brighton,
just like he did in the last round, didn't he? Started up front against who did Arsenal beat in the last round? Port Vale, wasn't it? Port Vale. Yeah. I bet I can guarantee. I mean, just sort of carrying on this question, I imagine from what you were saying, if you asked the centre backs who Arsenal came up against in those games, who they would have rather played against, Gyökeres or Merino, I'm pretty sure all of them would have said would have preferred to play against Merino than Gyökeres, just because of the sheer work that they don't have to go through when they're chasing Gyökeres around, tracking his runs, like you said. I think that what makes Merino so impressive, I think, when you look at the goals he scored, even the goals he scored yesterday, you look at his movement in the box for someone who's not an out and out striker and has basically been, you know, sort of shoved into that role in the second half of last season. His movement to create space and find space in the box is so impressive. And that's what, when I do compare him to Gyökeres, and it's one thing I've spoken about plenty of times with Gyökeres, I would just like to see him be a little bit more alert in the penalty area. You know, it's not all about running the channels and sort of finding that space and knowing where the ball's going to be. I mean, that's just a sort of special talent that the best strikers have. And I haven't seen that yet from Gyökeres. So hopefully we will get to see that. But when you look at Merino and just the little bits of space he creates for himself, you think back for the 2 goals against Leicester when he first, that first game, especially the first one when he got onto Nwaneri's head cross. You think about the Real Madrid goal when just a few steps back he made to get picked out by Mars Lewis-Skelly for that pass. The goals yesterday, he just makes little movements. Even the flicked header against Newcastle this season, where he just worked himself like 2 yards, 1 yard, and gets that space. Really an impressive little trait that he's got. And I think that's why he does seem to pop up and be so hard to defend against when he's in that penalty area, because he just creates a little bit of space for himself. It's very clever.
It's Lampardy, isn't it? You know, to use an example that many a viewer here won't appreciate, but it is like that. Just that sense, because he's arriving a bit late. And when he was a striker, it wasn't even that he was arriving late, but maybe he was thinking quite late. He was thinking after the defense was set. He was applying that midfielder's mindset. I mean, what I'd love, I know I've spoken about this with Nketiah before, and he sort of really hammered home the point that this is actually something you can coach. You can make people sort of better, and a lot of it comes from your understanding of your teammates. So one thing I'd be really intrigued with Gyökeres is, does he start to get a sense for, right, when Saka's got the ball here, I know what he's going to do. He's going to curl it. And how often do those curled shots come back off the crossbar, come back off the post, and I need to be in this position? Or if he's going to go, do I know when he's going to go at the near post, or when he's going to want to slip the ball inside for me? Can I learn that? And the reality, of course, is you definitely can't learn that in the space of 2-3 months, but the more time he gets, the better, I think. And there's a huge amount of adaptation. We knew that about Gyökeres, that you coming from a league with like 2 or 3 other good teams to a league where every team is at a baseline. They're at the level of Porto and Benfica, well, nearly every team. And like a lot of the teams you're going to face are far better than the opposition you've been running into for most of your career. So I think give him time. But yeah, I would love I don't, it's the sort of thing on like a FIFA or a Football Manager. You'd be like, hey, Mikel, you work with Victor on attacking positioning and all that, and let's see what comes of it. It's just, for me, it's the one step that really could make a big difference with Gyökeres and take him from like, oh, he's all right against the little teams to like, he can get 2 or 3 shots in a game against a top opponent and he'll score one of them.
And we'll talk about the Fulham game and who could well be starting, but just sort of sticking with the international themes. Did you watch it? Did you see any of Brazil yesterday, Japan? Mad game that. I was watching it on a stream actually, and I watched the first 60 minutes. I left just after Brazil had conceded 1, so it went back to 2-1. I left then because Martinelli had come off, but Martinelli was very interesting in that game. Kind of played a lot of it as a striker. He started on the left. Then after about 5 minutes, him and Vinny swapped positions, and they did it a lot the whole way through the first half. So you were never sure who was playing as a striker and who was playing as a left winger. And, Carlo had obviously given them a lot of license to just kind of do what they wanted. But it was a decent performance from Martinelli. He took his goal really well. That was coming in sort of off the left-hand side, getting between the full-back and the centre-back, and it was a nice finish across the goalkeeper. But while we're waiting for Kai Havertz to come back, I know it seems to be in a long-running conversation, isn't it? It's like, is he going to play as a centre forward? And as of yet, we've just had no indication that Mikel Arteta is ever going to do that. But if you are going to sort of rest Gyökeres, who feels like he definitely needs some time in this period where we're playing next 3 weeks, there's a game every 3 days, basically, until next international break. He's played 10 games in a row now, hasn't scored. Went away with Sweden, played twice in the last 2 international breaks. He started every game for Arsenal pretty much because he's the only striker going. You feel like he's going to have to be taken out the firing line a bit this season, just this period of games now coming up. Is Martinelli an option? Or maybe should he be an option?
Do you remember how we spent all of last season talking about Zinchenko in midfield?
Yeah.
And then he finally got it when Arsenal was 7-0 up on aggregate or whatever it was against PST.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to see with Martinelli up front. I presume the logic for this is that even Victor Gyökeres has spent a lot of time when he's Arsenal striker with his back to goal, holding up play.
Yeah.
And players like Trossard and even to extent Kai Havertz can offer you that sort of those false nine movements in a different way. And I've not seen anything from Gabby that makes me think he could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with everyone out there that says, and there's so many Arsenal fans that will be saying, what about his penalty area movement and all that? Fully agree with you. You don't have to convince me of that, but you have to convince Mikel. And the sense I get, like, from what we know, getting on for 6 years of Mikel Arteta football. 6 years of Mikel Arteta football this December. It's not going to happen. No. It may happen in the odd game or two. It may be sort of forced on him because Arsenal and injuries. But yeah, I don't think it's ever going to really happen for a big game out of choice.
It's good for Martinelli, though, isn't it? He's having a very good season, isn't he? It's not just at Arsenal now. He's gone to Brazil and scored when he gets his start in Japan. He's just having a good start to the season, and it's nice to see. It's good to see, and it's important for Arsenal point of view as well. But just for him, I think, given the spotlight, the scrutiny he was under during the summer, and everything like that, it's been a really, really positive start for him.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying all summer, if Arsenal could just have the Martinelli of. Doesn't even have to be the guy from 22, 23, but if it's just better than last season, and he's the third choice winger, that's great. That's fantastic. Third or fourth choice, maybe, with Madueke. That is all you could want for. It's really good. I think it's nice to see a bit more of a smile on his face as well, and a bit more excitement. He clearly feels valued by Brazil as well. And it's never a complaint, I think, having Carlo Ancelotti as your coach. He's going to just do what he can to enable you to do the best you can. And hopefully you kind of can get in this virtuous cycle with Martinelli.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of come the summer, every option's available to you. Maybe a team like Bayern Munich or Barcelona, a team with a bit of, or separate to Barcelona, a team with a bit of cash, go, okay, this guy is the player he looked like he was in 22-23. Let's offer Arsenal a load of money. Or you kind of go, well, we'll keep Martinelli. Thanks, he's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good for Arsenal. Certainly good for Arsenal. So, look, I mean, looking ahead to the Fulham game this weekend, we know there's going to be no Martin Odegaard because Mikel Merino scored twice for Spain. Everyone's already presuming, oh no, it's going to be that midfield three, isn't it? He's going to play. He's going to play the midfield three. I mean, what are you thinking ahead of Fulham? It's a ground where Arsenal have been pretty miserable at the last couple of seasons. It's not been great. Last year was slightly better than the year before, which wasn't hard because the year before was just it was the worst performance of the season without a shadow of a doubt. What do you reckon in Odegaard's absence as a central? We're beginning to see that more. It feels like that's the position that Mikel's beginning to use him more. And I spoke about it in my show this morning. I feel like that substitution at half time against Manchester City in that first half and how it panned out against Manchester City seems to be a bit of a slide indoors moment potentially. When you look back on at the end of this season of where Mikel think, you know what, we need to go down this route rather than this route. And it'll be interesting now with Odegaard out again for a decent chunk of time. I think we're going to see real signs of what his plan is going to be. I'm thinking as a Rice. You're laughing already. What are you thinking then?
No, I do. I was a little bit tempted to throw that. What about if you guys for the Merino, Rice, Zubimendi midfield?
I just can't see him doing it. I just feel like that Man City game was a bit of a turning point in terms of that. I'm sure we will see it plenty of times in games. I'm just not sure about the start. I think.
Fully agree.
And the form that Martinelli and Trossard are both in as well, both scored during the international break as well. It just feels like it's an easier decision now. You've got Eze in the central as the playmaker, and then you've got one of those two over on the left-hand side.
I would be really surprised. I think it's more likely that Rice potentially is given a rest, or a player is rotated. But I would think that Eze will start centrally. I'd be surprised if you take out Zubimendi, considering just how impactful he was in that last game before the international break. So that's why I kind of think like we'll see the midfield of Zubimendi, Rice, Eze. The one I would be like 65 to 70% on, whereas I'm more confident on the other two would be Rice. That maybe you give Merino a go. He's shown a sort of willingness to ease Rice's burden, but yeah, I would think Rice, maybe Trossard down the left. Mikel sort of likes that sort of more technical approach away from home, I think. So Trossard down the left, and then
Trossard seems to be ahead of Martinelli in the pecking order from the start at the moment.
It doesn't make sense to me because Trossard's really impactful off the bench. I know Martinelli's been of late as well, but I like what Trossard brings to this team off the bench more. But again, this isn't 2019 Unai Emery dog days. Don't blame me for what the manager's doing.
You're certainly not alone in preferring Trossard off the bench. Absolutely no doubt about that. So yeah, I mean, providing there is nothing we haven't heard about yet injuries wise, that everyone's coming back pretty much unscathed from the international break, which is decent. So the defense is gonna pick itself, you would think.
Yeah.
I mean, I was saying that actually. I mean, Gabriel and Martinelli, to be fair, they went to South Korea and Japan during this international break. They've had a lot of air miles in them. The Japan game was yesterday, obviously. So you imagine they were back at Colney today. So you got 2 days?
Not a nice flight, that.
No,
even private. I don't think that would be a pleasant flight, and it's
and the fact that it's the start of 3 games in a week and the Champions League on Tuesday night. So maybe when I say it picks itself, maybe not. Maybe there is going to be
that. Back at if he's fit, and we don't know that for certain, but if there was what we were led to believe by Arteta. So if Nketiah was fit, you might look at that and say this is a good chance to give him minutes as your left centre back. Keep Gabriel on the bench for emergencies. I think we'll use Mosquera. But I think it's a good opening to get Nketiah some minutes. So now that you've mentioned that, like I'm 50-50.
Yeah. It's so nice listing all these options.
I know.
And the strength of the options. It's such a strong position for Arteta to be in. It really is. Gyökeres up front, obviously. I mean, it's tough international break for him in Sweden. I never understood John Dahl Tomasson, Sweden manager. That was just felt so weird. Really, really, really odd. And that hasn't got it. His first manager ever Sweden have ever sacked.
I saw that.
It's mad, isn't it?
Very Swedish, isn't it? Like it's one of those countries in Europe where you can't get sacked, no matter how bad you are at your job, unless, of course, you fail to get Alexander Isak and Victor Gyökeres and those guys to the Euros. Which they still mightn't they?
They've got, because of their form in the Nations League. I think they've got a chance through the Nations League, haven't they? Still of getting a playoff spot, even if they continue to tank at the moment in the qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't hire Jon Dahl Tomasson because I remember how bad he was as a footballer at Newcastle. And he's one of those transfers that's just seared into my brain as like,
it never worked in Newcastle, did it?
Flop.
Just did not score, could not score for them. Always felt a weird one, but I mean, Gyökeres up front, he does need a goal, no doubt about it. I mean, I didn't feel like before the international break he looked like he was lacking any confidence, but it must take its toll on any striker when you go 10 games without a goal for club or country. I mean, that's a lot, isn't it? 10 games, especially when you're so used to scoring, pretty much 2-3 goals a game, which he has been for the last 2 seasons. It must take its toll a little bit. So it'd be really, really handy for him and Arsenal, obviously, for him to score this weekend.
Yeah, because I know how you would frame the story around this as well, wouldn't it? It wouldn't just be the sort of, oh, he's only scored against 2 teams. It would be because all those goals were in August, weren't they? So it will be getting on for 2 months since Victor Gyökeres has scored for Arsenal and all that, and it'll rile people up on social media, but it'll be factually accurate. And it's good to just shut down those stories before you're on a big Super Sunday game. Get it nice and quiet on I know it's Saturday 5:30, but before the spotlight's shining on you, just get a goal anyway, anyhow, and then make sure the talking point is someone else next week.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking around the fixtures Arsenal got coming up now before the international break, and they are the type of fixtures you'd be looking at as a striker and thinking, I can get myself a few here. Obviously, Arsenal aren't going to have Martin Odegaard in that run, Sammy. The BBC. Every time I say Sammy, I always say the Mail. I always so nearly say the Mail and have to stop myself. He's at the BBC, obviously now, but he reported that Martin Odegaard's going to be out until after the international break. I don't think it's the worst thing. I mean, you look at it; it could have been worse. Obviously, 4 games in the Premier League he's going to miss if that time frame holds up, and those games are Fulham, Palace, Burnley, and Sunderland. Obviously every game in the Premier League is hard, but that it could have been worse. That was my overriding feeling when that news was announced.
It's a sort of the fact that Palace are at home as well. It's a group of fixtures you kind of got to be looking at as 10 points is bare minimum.
That seems to be the number that people are going with. I've seen it mentioned a lot. It's like, how many points do you take from this? Would you take? And everyone's saying 10.
I mean, if you don't, the Palace one is the one. And actually, I mean, frankly, I think any points dropped against Fulham, Burnley, and Sunderland,
you definitely
would have me
worried, don't you?
I know, but you just, if you want to win a title, these are the places you could go to and win. I mean, I hate to sort of give away the premise of my piece of Saturday evening, but the Saturday evening I'll be writing pretty much whatever the result, I suspect, unless the game gives us something else. Do Arsenal look like a team that can go and pick up these points again, week in, week out? Because if they do that, I think they'll win the title.
Yeah.
Palace is a bit different. We'll see what they look like come then, and they will have had a Conference League game on Thursday. Yeah. But other than that, I know that Atletico Madrid in between looks tricky as well. But yeah, that's the only reason I can't see less than 10 being acceptable.
No, I think you've got to be definitely aiming for 12. 10 is just about acceptable. I think one game where you don't get maximum points, but you want to be getting 12 from these, really sort of putting the foot on the accelerator now after getting yourself in top spot, chasing down Liverpool, getting in front of them. Now this is a chance to really sort of push on and put the pressure on, I think, isn't it? And I'm sure that's what Arteta is going to be targeting. I mean, next 2 games, they got 2 points from these 2 games last season, didn't they? Fulham away and Palace at home. So you've got to be improving on that. No doubt about it. Right, let's quickly move on now. Let me just bring these up. So, right, summer sign-ins. So we're going to rate our summer sign-ins. Like I said, someone wrote in. I can't remember. Apologies who it was. If you're watching or listening and you're thinking this was me. It was so long ago that I couldn't remember who it was who sent this in to rate the summer sign-ins. So I wanted to do it with James. I thought it'd be better to do it with James and see if we both.
We need to nail down our terms of reference here. Are we 1 to 10?
Yes, we're 1 to 10.
5 the starting point, or
so
6?
like player ratings, basically. Your player ratings.
Well,
I always start on a 6 on player ratings. My average is 6.
I start on a 5.
Do you?
And I will.
So we're already going down a different tangent here. We're going down. Now I haven't marked what Hincapio can't mark.
Yeah.
He's played 2 minutes. I haven't marked Norgard either. Have you?
No, I think it would be harsh because it's injury, and I think we're early enough that I can't be like, you've got to stop being injured, mate. Like, you've just been injured. It's fine.
So can we give Kepa a mark?
Well, we suppose we literally can rate his performance in the game against Port Vale 6.
Yes.
It's a one-game
I
player.
have put him. I mean, he's played one game, of which I don't think he made a save. He might have done. I can't remember off the top of my head him making a save. But because he's had one start, I did put him down as a 6 because I couldn't lower him and I couldn't raise him. So we'll get those 3 out of the way first of all. Okay, should we go Christian Mosquera?
Oh, 8.
I gave him an 8 as well.
Yeah, well deserved. I mean, I think there's always, I think when you're rating signings, you probably do need to take the fee and the expectations into consideration. And the fee was low, and the expectations were like that this was a long-term play. And he came in and was great at Anfield. And I know I don't necessarily blame Sky for doing it, but at Old Trafford, at St James's Park, when you just sort of kept seeing those replays of Mosquera like shinning the ball out for a corner, and you were like, yeah, it's not like, it was not one for the YouTube show reels afterwards, but I don't think that's kind of, like Arsenal should defend a corner better. Like, so I don't think
you see that sort of thing happen all the time. Someone miscues a clearance and it goes out for a corner. So I don't put a load of blame on Mosquera for that. It was just a footballing incident that happens, doesn't it?
So for that reason, I'm like, he's not really put a meaningful foot wrong. So 8.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's exceeded my expectations. I thought he was going to be good. I was really excited by the signing, but he's exceeded my expectations. I just think he looks, like you said, he's pretty much barely put a foot wrong, and it's not just his ability it's the way he kind of looks.
Yeah,
he just looks like a Premier League player. He's built for it. He looks confident. He's not overawed, or he doesn't seem overawed at all about the situation, about the size of the club, about the Premier League, anything like that. He just looks the real deal, I think. So yeah, I've given him an 8. Okay, I will go now with Martin Zubimendi. Now, I don't give 0.5 ratings.
No, get in the
I
bin.
just do the number. And I've given Zubimendi a 9.
Because he is an 8.5. But that's
exactly. I think he's probably closer to an 8.5 than a 9 if I was doing points. But I think he's closer to a 9 than an 8, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So I've given him a 9, which I just think he's been so good in such trying circumstances, thrown in absolute baptism of fire to the Premier League. I just think the way he's adapted to it, away at Anfield, away at St James's Park, away at Old Trafford, playing up against Rodri against Man City at home, and he's just taken to it. He's scored a couple of goals. He's setting up goal. I just think I think he's been brilliant. I really, really do. I think he can get better as well, which is really exciting. But just for the way he's handled it all and how at home he looks straight away. The one big fear I had about him was, and this is from speaking to people who'd seen a lot more than I had, was that even their question marks were, is he going to be able to handle the Premier League and the intensity and the pace and the physicality of it all? And I haven't been worried about that at all, having watched him. So yeah, I'm giving him a 9.
He feels a sort of like he's a play ahead of the ball, doesn't he? He's one move ahead. That's why he keeps sort of whipping the ball out of the other teams before they've even sort of started a counter-attack. I initially was sort of 8, but you've talked me around to a 9, and I want to sort of give him a bit of separation because I think in terms of impact, he has been the best of a very good crop of summer signings.
So you're agreeing 9?
Yeah, I think 9.
Oh, look, I've talked you around.
There we go. Rarely happens.
Madueke.
Yeah, a clear 8. Again, you've got to factor in the expectations. I know that there will be people saying he's not scored, he's not assisted. I think he's done an awful lot to give other players a chance to score. And there's been some really good crosses that maybe Gyökeres, especially early on in the season, was a bit too flat-footed to go for. And I think I would have had him a 9 if he'd kept on at this level and not got injured. But yeah, he's an 8 for me, and I'm really, really excited to see him come on to complement or replace Bukayo Saka against tiring legs. I think he could be an absolute killer.
See, I went 7 rather than 8.
I see it. He's not had a huge number of minutes.
No. And that's, I think if he'd have stayed fit and played all the games up to international break and he continued in the form he showed, I think he would have definitely been nailed on 8 for me. But just because he hasn't played as much, we are yet to see the sort of end product that we want from him when he's been on the pitch. And he's been great. He's been exciting. I've really enjoyed watching him play. But there is, like you said, there still hasn't been a goal or assist to his game yet. And ultimately, you do need those numbers if you're playing in that position. You know, we've seen Bukayo Saka come back, and I know Bukayo Saka's a freak of nature. He's just, you know, he's another level. He's so good, but he's immediately scored, got himself numbers already, Bukayo Saka, and we need that from Madueke as well. But I've been really impressed with what I've seen from Madueke so far. Really impressed. But he doesn't quite get an 8 for me yet. But that is mainly down to the injury. I think he would have done had he stayed. Do you think, now that Saka's back and he's on the right side, if Madueke had stayed fit and was playing, do you think we'd be seeing a Madueke on the left, Saka on the right?
Yeah, and I think we'll see quite a lot of that. I think that may well be it, because kind of, again, we'll wait to see what Arteta has to say on Friday morning. But I think if he says he's back, I think not for this game against Fulham, but in the next 3 games, we'll see Madueke left, Saka right.
Madueke's not going to be back already, is he?
What was the timeline? I can't remember.
No, I think it's too early. I think he's surely after next international break as well, isn't he? I think he was a good 6 to 8 weeks, wasn't he? I think just off the top of my head.
Early November. I'm seeing floating like what I wrote before. It's really hard to keep up with all these.
It's really, especially Arsenal injuries. Very hard to keep up with it. Okay, so Madueke, I gave 7, you gave an 8, so we've differed there a little bit. Eza, what have you given him?
So expectations are higher for him than Madueke, and we are talking low 8s, high 7s. And I know the output's been there for it's a 2 assists and a goal.
See, that's what I was just searching at. This is going to be interesting because I can see where you're heading already here. But you give Madueke an 8 with no goals and assists, and Eza's got a goal and 2 assists already.
And you know me, I'm all about that output. But there's just been
what 8, number? Give us a number.
8.
Now you just changed your mind there. You were giving him a 7, weren't you?
No, yeah, 7. Hold firm on what you believe, James. Just because I think there is.
I've given him a 7, by the way, as well.
Yeah, more to come from him. Like really encouraging. 7 means good. Really encouraging start.
Is this based on expectations though? Like you said, because expectations are so different. Like I think he's been good, but he's not. We've not seen him yet like dominate a game, or even that Madueke. What was the game? The Madueke was just ran the show. Forest, yeah. See, Madueke, although there was no goals, he dominated that game, wasn't he? He was
Eza got an assist in that.
He was the standout player on that pitch that day. We haven't seen that yet from Eza. He's been good. He's been fine. Been some nice moments. He's contributed numbers in attacking sense in the final third, which is good. But it'd be nice in this run of games now got coming up, especially with Odegaard's injury, to really see him sort of front and center of kind of everything Arsenal are doing, and that would be nice. But so I've given him a 7. I think he's been above average. He's done well in games. He's contributed, but I don't think he's quite at the number 8 level yet.
Yeah, I think what's exciting is that with Madueke, you sort of felt like you were seeing a really good version of Madueke from the off. I think what's exciting about Eza is I've seen him play better than this.
Mm-hmm.
And I know why it's not come yet. He's not had as much time as a lot of as guys like Madueke, Mosquera to an extent, guys like that have been around for a lot of preseason. He's not had that time, so I know it will come. I don't doubt it, and I don't doubt that he'll be at an 8 by the end of the season. Touch wood, injuries and all that. Touch quite a lot of wood, but yeah. I will hold him to really high standards, and I'm sure because I'm sure he will do the same himself.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the one we've all been looking forward to.
Yep. Go on then, Big Vic. What you giving Big Vic?
Remember, for me, 5 is average, 6. slightly above what I feared / what I was like, there's a world where this just isn't great. And I think we've seen real signs of improvement. I thought the player that played against Manchester United, you had to keep saying things like, it's just the first game. You had to say those things because you were like, because it's true, but because you could be worried by that. It just felt like he couldn't win his duels. He couldn't assert himself. He couldn't get into shooting positions. If you then flash forward to sort of the final really testing game he played against Newcastle, he was emerging victorious in plenty of those battles. He was getting his shots up. He was asking questions of the defenders. So step in the right direction. I still am kind of the view that, like, I don't think he will be the 10 out of 10 guy because, like, when we set the bar at 15, 20 goals, it's really good. It's great, but it's not 10 out of 10. But that's fine. I think we knew all along that he probably wasn't sort of going to come in and be the best striker in the world, but he could be a good enough striker dovetailing with Havertz for Arsenal to achieve what they want. And I think he's showing he could be that. That's why 6.
Yeah, I agree. I've given him 6 as well. I think there's been good signs in the run up to the last international break, even without the goals. Been good signs that he's improving and growing into the team, and the team are beginning to adjust more and more to him. We definitely do have a goal. It'd be nice for him to score at Fulham. It really would. But he's kind of. I was going to say he's kind of where I thought he was going to be. I thought he probably would have scored more goals by now. I think I'd have thought sort of 5 and 6. And like I said earlier in this show, I think he quite easily could be sitting in now on 5 and 6 anyway. He's been a little bit unlucky. I think if you asked him, are you a bit disappointed with only scoring in 2 games for Arsenal so far? I'm pretty sure he'll say yes. He'll think he should have scored more now. I don't think that's unfair to say. But there are some good signs. I do want Kai Havertz back, though. And again, that's not having a go at Gyökeres, but it would just be nice for Gyökeres as well. I think Gyökeres would probably be in a much better place now had Kai Havertz been fit as well. And I know there's an argument of, well, at least he's getting, because Arsenal had to play him all the time, that's going to speed up his adaptation and all of that. And I agree to a certain extent, but I still think Gyökeres would probably be in a better position and better shape. And now had Kai Havertz been able to share some of the minutes that he's had to take so far this season.
Yeah,
so I'm really looking forward to Kai coming back.
The ideal sort of like down the middle would have been like Havertz is out for 3 to 5 games. So Gyökeres gets that run. And then Kai Havertz comes back in when the fixtures get too much. And we've not had that, and it'll be a while before we have that. It has to be said. So
I mean, you look ahead to when Kai Havertz is fit and games that Kai Havertz is going to start, and you sort of throw Victor Gyökeres up. We're half an hour, 25 minutes to go. Defenders will be like, "Oh my god, you're kidding me!" And you got to get him coming and bulldozing down the channels and getting shots away. So, and I think he'll really benefit from that in those games as well, coming on against tired defenders. So, I think we're going to see a much improved Victor Gyökeres as the season goes on. I think a lot of that is going to be down to the return of Kai Havertz as well. So I agree. So 6. Have we agreed on every single one there? No, we didn't. We disagreed on
Madueke. Of course.
Madueke, you gave an 8. But the rest of them, we were all the same, weren't we?
I mean, like, no misses there at all, it seems like. And, if you sort of run through the list of Arsenal transfers, I know there are complaints people might have about the business that wasn't done, but I would challenge you to get many kind of deals in the last 4 or 5 years that you're like, what were they thinking? I think and you compare that to some of the other teams, even some of the other teams that Arsenal are competing with, and having this level of hit rate in your recruitment just makes it so much easier. I'm looking at you, Man City.
Well, we're kind of continuing on this theme. I just wanted to bring this one up from Mike because it's about Kepa, who we spoke about there. He said, I was wondering both your thoughts regarding the game time for Kepa. We talk so much about the squad size and quality, but worry about wanting to ensure all players get adequate minutes to feel part of the team. Surely Arteta had a conversation with Kepa before signing him to reassure him that he will get minutes on the pitch. I'm assuming Carabao Cup, Champions League, dead runners, FA Cup, although we've seen previously Arteta does like to go strong early on. I personally think Kepa is an excellent option as number 2, or if Raya was to get injured. So it's important that he does get minutes where possible to be able to keep hold of him for a number of years and therefore avoiding another summer signing. Looking for a decent backup keeper. Thanks. I mean, what Kepa played against Port Vale, is that his only minutes so far, Kepa? It is, isn't it?
Yeah. One game played, 90 minutes.
And so you'd imagine in this next block of games, probably the only minutes he's going to play, barring an injury or a suspension to Raya, is going to be the Brighton game as well. He's not going to play against that in the Champions League, is he? Well, qualification is still up for grabs. It's still going to be David Raya there. So that'll be 2 games by close to the end of November.
Maybe Slavia Prague. Maybe.
I don't think he'll do it. I really don't. Just judging by previous history of Arteta, I just don't think he will do it. I mean, even Mike there sort of mentioned sometimes you expect the changes in the FA Cup and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, like Ramsdale's going to come in for this game or whatever, and it wasn't. It was still David Raya in goal. But I do think there must have been some sort of conversation with Kepa, because Kepa, he was a number 1 for Bournemouth last season, albeit on loan, and for him to make the decision to come to Arsenal, there must have been a conversation of you will get enough minutes to be ticking over. And so you'd imagine FA Cup would have been part of that conversation.
Yeah, I think you need to afford him those games. But that might be it. And, I think the way these conversations are always framed is really interesting, because coaches, players will always tell you we don't give guarantees of minutes. And I believe Arteta and anyone that says it in that regard, because I think he will simply say, if you play well enough, you will take David Raya's shirt from him. Hard to do that against Port Vale, and also hard to do that when David Raya is playing as well as he is. I think number 2 goalkeeper, though, is just always going to be a position that a top team like Arsenal will cycle through, and some years they'll cycle on to Kepa, who they can probably flip for what they paid for him, if not more, next summer. And some years you'll sort of cycle on to Matt Turner or an ineligible Neto, and you'll go, what on earth were we thinking?
But you don't want to be in a situation where Kepa's pushing to move next summer, though, do you? You want this to last at least a couple of years. I think you do not want another summer where you're chasing a number 2 goalkeeper. So I think you've got to keep him happy enough that he doesn't really push to move next summer.
Yeah, but I think that's easier said than done. I think in the it's got to be so low down your list of priorities that if Kepa wants to go, thank you very much for your services, and we understand why. It's a tough one, but I don't think you can keep Kepa happy enough, considering how good he was last season for Bournemouth. You'd probably just lose him, and that's okay if you can have him around as your backstop for a year or 2.
Yeah, I think definitely 2 rather than a year. That would be my be my priority. On that, I've got on here one from Aurora Freak. Says, hi, Charles and James. Hope you're both doing well or fine. Yes, I am. My question is around Dowman. Could you see him going on loan in January to Luton? He and Jack are very close, and he could get a lot of first team action. Can't see him doing that a lot in our squad. So, we'll talk about that. But this is a good time to talk about Jack Wilshere. What are your thoughts on Jack getting the Luton job?
Really, I mean, honestly, more than anything, just really pleased for the guy.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey. I was looking back. I remember speaking to him nearly a decade ago about starting his coaching badges. That's how long it's been. And I think there's been real determination on his part to challenge himself and to always look for a step up, to not settle for coming back to the Arsenal under-21s.
Well, he could have done that in the summer, couldn't he? He really could, and that would have been the easy thing to do. But he said no, thank you. I'll keep looking.
I worry about taking this particular job. I can't say I'm an expert at Luton, but I can see their trajectory, and it's going to be a very impressive coach that turns that around. One thing I would say, I'm sure you will know Chris Powell as well. That's a top assistant he's got.
That's a really clever choice, I think, Chris Powell.
Really good man that knows. Not only does he know sort of the EFL, and I mean he's coached right the way up to England level.
That must be where they've got the relationship from, England. I presume he was coached when Jack was there.
Yeah, he would have been in the Hodgson setup.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, he's come into some crisis clubs. He's managed at Charlton. Has he managed at Reading? I feel like everyone's managed at Reading at some stage.
He's not been at Reading.
No. As for Diamond going on loan, he turns 16 on New Year's Eve. So, like, it's a he'd have to sign his pro contract, wouldn't he? And then he'd have
Is there rules against it then? Can he not go on loan at the moment?
I would assume he can't until he's 16, but I might be wrong there. But just my assumption is if you're on that sort of academy deal, you really should be still.
You can go on work experience when you're an academy player. I'm pretty sure you can go on work experience.
I mean, kind of honestly, whatever the contractual stuff is, I think he's still so young that no,
I can't see it happening in January. Maybe next season. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe next season, especially if I would certainly think as long as Jack Wilshere's in that job, I'd be very keen to let him work with players he's worked with before, and will be willing to trust to give minutes, because it's always the hard part of EFL loans. These managers are managing with a sword of Damocles over their head. They are not going to blood your young players for you unless you are giving them players that they know are super talented. So I hope this will happen one day. But I think, can I just say one other thing as well that will also make you feel really old? You need to think about Max Diamond's like GCSEs and things like that in the second half of this season. Not that he needs I don't think he needs top grades, but you do have to shouldn't be kind of putting a young kid at a formative stage of his footballing and educational life, shouldn't be sort of casting them out to Luton of all places.
I wonder how he'd do in League One, Max Diamond. I wonder how he'd handle.
Get kicked.
I mean, he would literally get booted up and down the pitch, down the right hand side. He would get kicked in the air constantly. I don't think that would bother him too much. Not from what we've seen so far. He can handle himself.
Although you do,
I think if you'd just be, really, really good and would just run rings around them all, or would he just get swallowed up by the aggressiveness of it all, of all the pros, playing for their mortgages and all that sort of stuff that you get from League One football, League Two football? It'd be really interesting to see how he coped with it,
because that is starting to change. I saw. I mean, obviously, I remember the Grimsby game. They were just very good technically compared to Man United, and I saw Doncaster earlier this season, and you don't kind of quite see the same 31-year-old centre backs and all that. It's kind of why I saw Doncaster against Tottenham. And Doncaster had a load of sort of 22-year-olds and loanees and people that were sort of dropped down from Premier League academy level. So they just got absolutely battered on set pieces. So I wonder if maybe the EFL is a sort of safer place for a young player than it would have been. The EFL we know of 31-year-old centre-backs booting you across the halfway line. But still a little too soon.
There was a great line in that you just said that. I remember seeing Grimsby and they were on another level technically to Manchester United. Do you reckon we will see a bit of a conveyor belt, Arsenal to Luton?
Yeah.
With Jack there, do you think that's something that's going to, if he does well and he stays there for a while, do you think that's going to be a sort of well-trodden route that we're going to start seeing?
There's a couple of coaches Arsenal sort of trust around the EFL. Michael Appleton's one of them.
Yeah.
I can't believe you wouldn't trust Wilshere, especially with players he's coached before.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Right, what we got? This is one that I know the answer to. Well, I've said, I imagine you've got the same answer that I have. Saying it's from SM. How would you say it? Smudbidry?
Smudbidry, yeah.
Apologies, that's probably totally wrong. But you say, I believe that getting the squad with the injuries we had to the Champions League semi-final and almost to the final is the best feat by Mikel so far. That was possible because we were too far behind in the Premier League and focused just on the Champions League. While we do have the depth, will it be better if we go out in the first knockout round of the Champions League so our full focus is on winning the league? Well, this is coming from someone who would much rather win the Premier League than the Champions League, me. But no. Absolutely not. I just think the squad's good enough to win both. I'm not saying they will, and it would be very, very hard to do it. But I think the squad, as long as we don't get absolutely decimated by injuries, I think this squad is being built so that it can, attack at all levels in terms of all competitions that they're in and have a good go at all those competitions. So, no, I absolutely would not want to go out in the first knockout round of the Champions League just to focus on the Premier League.
Fully with you. 1,000,000%. I mean, there's a set of circumstances where you would put all your eggs in one basket Like if you are running a bit low, or if you, yeah, but I tend to just think it just doesn't really work that way anyway. It's very rare that you end up in a position where you kind of got to sacrifice one for the other, and that you're able to, like you say, like what is the team that you play to throw your first Champions League knockout game?
Can you imagine? I mean, there's just no way that Mikel would ever do that anyway. But
no.
You remember 22-23 when we went out to Sporting on penalties and everyone was like, that's a good thing. We can focus on the Premier League. And it's like, well, that didn't work out very well, did it? We went out of the Europa League and then we collapsed in the Premier League anyway. So I just don't think that, I just don't think it's the thing. And I definitely don't think Arteta will not be doing that 100%. And no, definitely got the squad capable of doing both. We've got one last question now before we wrap this one up. It's on Martin Odegaard from Levent says, hi, Charles James. On last show, I asked about potential incomings and outgoings over the next couple of years. With Martin's injury record, could he be the one that could be the big money sale? Love the show.
No.
Agree. No.
Mikel Arteta will burn the Emirates Stadium to the ground before he sells Martin Odegaard.
Yes, there is just absolutely no chance in my mind that that's going to happen. Like I said, he is Mikel's guy. Mikel will absolutely will stick with him. And I just think the injuries have just been kind of freak injuries. Certainly this season's anyone. Last season was just a really bad ankle injury on international duty, which happens all the time in football. And yeah, the ones this season, 2 shoulder injuries that you just never happens, and then the knee injury, which was again another freak. So I don't think it's a case of his body is breaking down or anything like that now. So I don't think Mikel's going to be too concerned, and there's just no way that Mikel's is going to agree to a sale of Martin Odegaard unless someone bid ridiculous money. I think there's going to be plenty of players on this squad list that would be further ahead of Martin Odegaard when it comes to potential sales.
100%. My only note for for Martin Odegaard, I don't know, but he's looked bulkier, but does he maybe need to just build up those shoulders to take a few more hits? Because I guarantee you the next game he's back, someone will be testing out how injured that shoulder is.
He's got 3 years left on his deal, Odegaard, 2028. And there's no option in that one. I don't think off the top of my head. I don't think he's got an option. So you'd think at the end of this season would be when they'd start to sit down with Odegaard and decide what to do. But yeah, I imagine,
he's getting on a bit now,
He's getting on. What is he, 27, 26?
27? You were thinking just a 1-year deal? Arsene Wenger special?
No, in Arsenal, they're just giving an extra 200 grand a year and 200 grand a week and keep him on the same level. 26 years old. He's 27 in December.
Happy birthday for then, Martin.
Yeah, no, I think he gets a new contract. He's not going to go. But thank you very much for that, and that's it. Thanks.
Good one, that one.
That was good. That was fun. Good to be back. Well, good to be back. Came back last week, I suppose, didn't we? But we're getting back into the flow of things now, which is nice. You're at Fulham. Then we're going to do our usual thing of sitting next to each other at Fulham.
I would think so, yeah.
Hopefully it goes a little bit better than last time we did that, and when Arsenal lost. So I'll see you in the press room beforehand, fighting for one of the few seats that there are in the press room.
I'm going to have to get there at like midday, aren't I?
Always get there early at Craven Cottage if you want to make sure you get a seat. Always get there early for the press room. It's not one of the biggest.
What's the weather looking like? Are we getting a nice little walk?
No, I think it's raining.
Oh, okay. I might go somewhere else.
Yes, I think it is raining. So yeah, I will see you there, mate. I'm not going to make it to a press conference on Friday because Mikel, for whatever reasons, decided it's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning, which rules me out because of school run duty. Why is he doing it at 10? He never, especially the fact they're in London on Saturday. If they had a big trip they had to leave for on Friday, I can understand it. I can't believe he's doing a 10 o'clock one.
I'm raging.
Are you going?
I am going.
Yeah.
I'm not happy. I'm going to have to brave North London early morning traffic.
Yeah,
Mikel, please.
It's not going to be fun. It's definitely ruled me out, which is unfortunate. But I'll see you on Saturday, mate. And thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll be back in the morning with one of my usual regular shows. We've got the Arsenal Press Pass show coming as well for Inside Arsenal Patreon members tomorrow, as well as keep your eyes peeled for that. Speak to you later, everyone. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.